Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephen Gardner. I am co-hosting this afternoon's match with Mr. Brian Yon, head coach of the Under-19 Prairie Blizzard. We are live in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador at the Swilers Rugby Complex. On offer this afternoon is the Canadian Rugby Championship Under-19 featuring the Atlantic ROCK, comprised of players from the Atlantic provinces, predominantly Newfoundland, and Ontario. Brian, welcome to St. John's. Don't know if it's your first time here, but we give you a hearty welcome here this afternoon. Brian, you are the head coach of the Under-19 Prairie Blizzard. You're going to give us a hand with the commentary this afternoon, and maybe some opening thoughts on today's game.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me, and it's my third time out here on the Rock, and I just love the hospitality of the St. John's folks here, and we're really looking for an exciting game here today, and I fully expect one. We've got some lovely St. John's weather rolling in here. There's a little bit of a sprinkle, and then
damp,
some sunshine will come out here shortly, but yeah, fully expecting a physical affair between these two sides, and I think it'll be really clinical for the Rock to every time they have possession to make sure that they're really clinical in their approach, and because Ontario will look to respond with any type of a counterattack off any mistakes.
They're going to have to take their chances today, no question. I think Ontario seemed to be the slight favorite, a very well-schooled, organized team in attack and defense. And we are about set for the kickoff. We've got Campbell Clark, St. John's native, co-captain of the team, playing fly half, and we are underway, folks. Brian, these are 30-minute halves, or is the final 40? What are they running today?
As far as I know, it's 30-minute halves, so the agreement before the tournament was 60-minute games, so
right.
we'll see what plays out here.
Tournament format. Ontario with some early possession, well tackled to the 10-meter line inside their half. And their inside centers kicks the ball downfield, fielded by Laurie Baldwin, the out half for the Rock. Just pumped it down into the corner. Ontario fullback responds with a poor kick that has come back in play. Josh Blanks, the scrum half for the Atlantic Rock, into Campbell Clark, into contact. Quick ball for the Atlantic Rock. Blanks to Baldwin again. Baldwin's on the outside shoulder there. Wet field, Brian, we're going to see probably a little bit of messy ball to start. Hopefully the teams can keep it close in contact.
Yeah, I think right off the hop with the few kicks that we've seen, it's going to be a real challenge for the players. The ball's greasy, the surface is greasy here, so it'll be interesting to see how things play out if teams adjust throughout the game.
Blanks to the flanker, number 7, McKinney for the Atlantic Rock. Good possession here, the number 8 for the Atlantic Rock, breaking through. Quick ball again, Clark distributing. And there you see, see that greasy ball getting on the deck again, but not knocked forward. The Rock picking it up again. That's number 4, Brickman Lee, with some good hard yards. Blanks again away. And a knock on there by the Rock. I think the refs got that one.
Yeah, no, those are the type of mistakes I think, unfortunately, we're going to see throughout the game. Now it'll be interesting to see what Ontario does with it here.
In the scrum, yeah. For those of you out there that are probably not familiar with rugby union, one of the most basic rules is if a ball is spilled forward off a player's hands or a body, an advantage can be played, and if no advantage is gained by the opposing team, the restart of the game is by the opposition team, and the advantage, as you'll see here, is the scrum half, the number 9 for Ontario. He gets to decide when the ball goes in, and here comes the rain again, folks, fortunately. First scrum of the game, very steady by Ontario, away to their outside half. And a big hit there by the Atlantic Rocks.
Great tackle.
Flanker. Yeah, good stiff tackle there. Kick downfield again. Baldwin to Blanks. Some open field there. Cutting through nicely.
Oh, well done.
Back up to halfway for the Rock team. Ontario player clearing nicely there. McKinney with some hard yards as well. Quick ball again. Blanks to Michael McCarthy. The hooker for the Atlantic Rock, who recently represented Canada in the under-20s down in Brazil. Clark with a nice pass into Alex Hickman, the inside center. Up to the 10-meter line, in the Ontario half. Clark showing his class there, also representing Canada in that tournament. And some good possession here again. That Alex Hickman over the 10-meter half, center field, good attacking position.
Playing advantage here.
We've got Ontario on the offside. The referee's playing advantage to see if the Rock can gain more momentum. And there goes the number 8. Tackle well by the winger for Ontario. Up to, okay. So that's a good example of the referee playing advantage. Good analogy to that is like a delayed penalty in ice hockey. He allowed the Atlantic Rock team to go upfield. There was no discernible advantage taken. So they'll go back for the initial penalty. It was offsides, I believe, on the back line of Ontario. And we've got Campbell Clark kicking for position now.
Yeah, so they've elected not to go for the points here, probably because of the conditions. So a good touch finder here. So I'm fully expecting that the Rock will probably bring it down and drive it, and try and draw some defenders in here and see if they can open up some space for the backfield. Good
point, Brian. The Rock team could have elected to kick for goal there. On offer was 3 points, but as he said, with the tricky conditions underfoot, he elected to put the ball in the corner. And the Rock are up. McKinney with a clean take, and they're off the outside. Blanks into Hickman, crash ball, 5 meters out, center field. Great attacking position. They're coming back right here. It's McCarthy into Baldwin. There's space there.
Nice offload. Great offload.
Back to McCarthy, about 3 meters out. Looks like they've got some good quick ball. They've got a bunch of guys lining up. McKinney, 1 meter out. Rock looking good. He looks like to be over. No, just shy short. And held up. Referee's in good position, and we're playing offsides again, the Ontario back line. Advantage, Clark there. Oh, bit of a miscue there. He took a risky kick because he did know that his team was going to be awarded a penalty.
Yeah, I think he was looking for the cross kick there, and Indeed. It looked like he got mixed up with number 12, the inside center there. So that's unfortunate, but again, they come back for the penalty here, and they're going to find touch again here.
Indeed. Brian, friends of mine, when we're watching international rugby on TV often, when you have a penalty 5 meters out like that, there are so very few quick tap penalties taken. They always seem to pump it into the corner. When you have clear possession like that, I often wonder why they just don't have a bang at it. But here the Rock go again. Ball's in play. Driving, 2 meters out, rolling to the right. Looks good, and we've got a try. Opening try of the game. And it's that man, Michael McCarthy. West End boy from St. John's. Product of the Sweilers Rugby Club from St. John's. Michael, as I said, recently featured in the under-20 Canadian team that played in Brazil in the World Cup. Michael played his way onto that team. I believe, Brian, he started in the reserve bench, and by the end of it, he was one of the leading players in the pack. So those guys are going to be real happy with that. Good start.
Yeah, he's going to be really key for them today. And just going back to the inquiry about the 5 meter options there, and we saw a good example right there where teams will quite often find touch to bring the bodies into the line out, and the mall's so tough to defend against.
Indeed.
And sometimes you wonder why players don't go for the quick tap more often. Well, the defense is so disciplined these days that it's very, very rare you'll see a quick tap penalty in a score. So, work something from a set piece platform, and a little bit more organization there. In the Rock, we're clinical there.
Indeed. I think you're quite right, Brian, in suggesting, and that's a beautiful kick by Baldwin
for
the extras.
I think the other key thing here too is when coming down here for the game, I felt the Rock had to score first and get this crowd into it right away, and they've the game plan. If that was the case, they're bang on with it here.
Indeed.
So this crowd's into it, and the Rock are ready.
Indeed, good healthy crowd here this afternoon. Rain's held off in rugby union. A try is 5 points. The conversion is 2, which was successful, and we are 7-0. Atlantic Rock over Ontario. We are approximately 8 minutes into the game. The kick off is taken cleanly by the Rock. Thomas Hagan on the outside. Also a product of the Sweilers Rugby Club, bundled into touch. Unfortunate, Thomas couldn't hold that one back. As he's gone over the touchline, the line out will be to Ontario. And to your point, Brian, well said, the way the game is refereed, particularly the rolling mauls, it's very difficult to defend. If players wind up hauling the mauls down, they're quickly penalized. So indeed, the Rock did get some good leverage on that one and quickly got it over the line for the first try of the match.
Yeah, so now we'll see what Ontario does here with good field position here, and well inside the Rock half. They've chosen to go with the stick and drive here, so we'll see what plays out.
Well defended by the Rock. That ball is exposed. That's fair play there by Said Saif. Very well defended.
Good pressure, really good pressure.
Centered Saif. Apologize if I'm not getting your name right there. He was instrumental in the Rock's round-robin games. I believe he's played every minute of every game so far. Big lad.
Well, I know Coach Sean McDonough is not going to be too pleased with that, with the way that turned out. It looked like they were wheeled, and the ball was exposed at the back, and the Rock player had every right to that. So
Agreed.
We'll see how Ontario responds here defensively.
So based on that infraction, we've got the Atlantic Rock with the advantage, putting the ball in the scrum. Brian, some, I guess, new rules over the last number of years to help with safety and protecting the players in the front row. Maybe you could take us through that, how these players bind in for the scrum?
Yeah, I think in terms of the bind, it hasn't changed much. What it's really come down to is, a few years ago, the scrum cadence had changed, and they're trying to lessen the impact between the front rows. So World Rugby had done a lot of research on the impact on, the necks and the spinal cords, and so there's been some minor changes with the scrum cadence. There's also been some removal of, head-on-head before the engagement, the pressure that's put on the neck and so on. So it's about safety of the players, and that's very important.
I never spent a lot of time up there myself. I played scrum half and out in the backs. It's not for the faint at heart, Brian.
No, that's correct. You've got to be gritty, and I was the same. I was a back, and complete respect for those men up front.
Indeed. The Rock with the ball away. Again, that man, Alex Hickman, in the inside center, gaining valuable yards. Josh Blanks away. McCarthy almost up towards halfway. The Rock controlling play here now with their possession, and they seem to be hanging on to that wet ball. Just up over halfway. They've got Ontario again, offsides in the backs. Penalty count ticking up against the Ontario guys. As you said, the Ontario coach not going to be real happy with that, Brian.
Yeah, earlier today, our team ran the same time as Ontario did, and the real focus seemed to be on the defensive side of it. And Ontario right now just seemed to be absorbing the attack. There's not a whole lot of line speed and taking that space away from the Rock, and the Rock are capitalizing off that.
Agreed. Campbell Clark, good touch finder. Down just on the 22-meter line of Ontario. If we had a territorial chart, I think the Rock would be well up there in the 70 to 80% percentage. Brian, probably not something I nor you would have expected going into the game, eh?
No, and in possession too. Like the Rock have dominated possession here early on, and there's still lots of rugby to be played here. But yeah, a little shocking, I think, off the hop. But you know what? Good on the Rock. I think they had a game plan set out here, and as I said before, one of my keys for them to be successful today was when they were on the offensive side of the ball, they have to be clinical, and so far, job well done to them.
They have taken their chances and got that early try. We're 12 and a half minutes into the first half. Michael McCarthy with the throw in. Decoyed McKenney, went to the center of the line out. Blanks into Alex Hickman again, who's he's been key so far this game. He's had some excellent yards. There's Seif again. Blanks with quick ball again. Campbell inside to Baldwin. Good crash ball. And that looks to be an infraction by the Ontario player. Not sure what the referee, he had his hand up.
Yeah, I don't know if he was just ensuring to make sure that the players are onside.
And there's the crash to McKenney, and he's through! for the second try of the game. Fantastic. Fantastic. Great vision by the scrum half Blanks there to see his inside flanker, who took a very, very aggressive running line, popped it back inside to him, and boy, oh boy, do we have a great start here for the Atlantic Rock.
Fantastic start, and you know, we had the privilege of playing the Rock in the first game of the tournament, and one thing I had mentioned to my coaching staff afterwards was I was really impressed with the play of Connor McKinney. I think Connor has been an outstanding player for the Rock all week, and to me, he's played a real positive role here at the breakdown, and obviously now scoring the punch in the try over for the Rock.
Probably one of the stronger back row players in the tournament. I was not familiar with this chap before, but he has also played, and the conversion's good. Brings it to 14-0 in favor of the Atlantic Rock over Ontario. And we are just over 14 minutes into the first half. But yeah, McKenny's been real strong, played all the minutes of the games, and he'll be real happy with that score, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, and you know, I look for his play to continue here.
Well now, Ontario down 14. You don't hear that much.
No, you don't, but at the same time, Ontario, they always have that ability to make things happen very quickly. So I'll be interested to see here how Ontario responds, and again, they are that good of a team. They now have a turnover here, so they can very easily punch over a quick score.
Yeah, lots of rugby left to be played here. These wet conditions, though, are going to hamper from a real open style game, and one observation that I'll make is that Ontario pack going into this tournament was well known, well sized, well organized, but they are being matched in every facet of the game, it would seem, by the Atlantic Rock.
Yeah, I think one of the keys here for Ontario is they've got to get Liam Bowman involved. Liam Bowman, the outside center for Ontario, has just been outstanding here this week, and I'm really looking for him to get involved here. I think he's an impact player for them, and you know, if Liam can get a few touches here, I think we're going to see some things open up for Ontario.
Indeed. Kevin O as well, their scrum half, is a highly rated player and has played some great minutes so far in the tournament, but he's not had a lot of clean ball to deal with so far.
Yeah, hasn't had a whole lot of ball.
Indeed. And away he goes. Good service to the inside center.
There we go, Liam Bowman right here.
And out to the wing. Small bit of space out there. Well tackled by his opposite number. Kevin O back into the inside center. Good dish off to the number 8 for Ontario, Rink Vanderplang. Quick ball for Ontario.
No, numbers there.
Ontario with possession just inside the Rock half, far side of the field. It's the first real passage of play that Ontario have been able to put some decent passages of play together. It's quick ball again. They got their flanker out in the middle of the field there. He's also very well tackled by Hickman. Ontario switching back right again. They've got some possession, but the line speed and defense is really strong by the Rock. Being tackled very well. McCarthy up early and hard. Onto the Cody Nala, the number 7 for Ontario. They've chipped the ball through. That's dangerous looking,
well,
picked up by the winger.
That's well picked up.
Very well picked up. 1 meter out now.
It's got to go. It's got to go.
He's waited for that one. Allowed the Rock defense to get back in play. Debatable whether they should have shifted that more quickly, Brian?
Yeah, I agreed. You get a line break, you want to move that ball quickly. They chose to go with a Lance call, and it looks like they're going to do the same thing here again.
It's the hooker had to go there for Ontario, Alex Sorelli. And the referee's blown that up. Can't see any indication what for. Scrum to Ontario.
Yeah, it looks like the ball might have been unplayable there, so it's going to be Ontario scrum. So a good attacking platform here, 5 meters out. You know, it'd be interesting to see if Ontario chooses to go to an 8-9 pick, or if they'll shift it out to the 10 right away and look to get the centers involved.
This number 8, Rink Vanderplung, has also been well featured throughout the week for Ontario. Very strong player.
Yeah, very strong. He runs well, ball in hand. You know, when we from what I've seen from him throughout the week, he a very physical player as well. Everything you want in a number 8.
These kids are not getting any smaller, eh, Brian?
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Oh my God! And a great scrum by the Rock there. Pushed them off their own ball. Swung around, and Ontario will maintain the advantage.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Rock put Ontario under pressure here again. If the call doesn't go the Rock's way here.
The Rock's front row featuring Thomas Hagan and Michael McCarthy, both from the Swallers Rugby Club in St. John's, Newfoundland, and Hudson Burnaby playing tight head, doing a great job there defending their line. You'll watch the Ontario scrum half. He taps his prop before he puts the ball in. They've called the penalty against the Rock for bringing the scrum down. I believe Thomas Hagan on the loose head side.
Yeah, and you can see the turf. It's getting really, really tore up there, and there's a few low spots there where the water's sitting. So, you know, I think the referee here should move that scrum away from that area just so the boys can get another, you know, have a good footing on the next go.
For those of you not familiar with this playing surface, the Swallers Rugby Club, which was incorporated in 1974 in St. John's, we moved to this facility approximately 15 years ago. And actually, Brian, this field just went under approximately a $900,000 renovation. There's a brand new surface put on it and a drainage system, accompanying fences and bleachers around the side, and was also recently commemorated in a dedication ceremony to the late Adele Pointer, nee McNicholas, the late wife of Dr. John McNicholas, mother also to Patrick McNicholas, who is a annual and very, very strong featured rock player here. So as you can see across the field, Adele's field is featured on top of the scoreboard, and just a nice ceremony that was taken on just before the tournament started. So we'd like to recognize the McNicholas family here this afternoon. Ontario with the 5-meter scrum, ball's in. Number 8, strong off the right, held up well by the flanker, Matthew Terry of the Rock. Rain coming down in buckets here now. The Ontario tight head, Hayden Moyer, with some hard yards, quick ball. Ontario winger tackle well. Ball squirms out there, still on Ontario's side. Shift the ball out once again. Very, very well held up by the Rock flanker, Connor McKinney. And that's a sloppy ball out in the midfield. We've got
Come back for a penalty
exactly,
here. Offside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It appeared that it was going to be a knock-on against Ontario, but the Newfoundland backs were slightly offside. I think that's a fair call.
Yeah, some really, really good contact there by the Rock back row. You know, coming up and putting some pressure on the first receiver there. So it was great defense by the Rock. Choosing to go back for a scrum here, and in that same area there, it's getting really chewed up.
Good passage of play for Ontario. It's been sloppy, but they've maintained possession. They're giving themselves a chance to get back in the game. Just crossed the 22-minute mark of the first half. Score remains 14-0 for the Atlantic Rock over Ontario.
Yeah, if Ontario can score here, you know, they've had possession here for the last number of minutes, and there's been a bit of a momentum shift here. So if Ontario scores here, this will be big for them.
Indeed. Scrum half, unfortunate slip there. He had a decent little hole to get through. Ontario going to keep this in tight, I'd say. No. Just coming around to the fullback. A little bit uncertain what they want to do there. A bit unorthodox. Yeah. There's the tight head for Ontario again. Hayden Moyer. 1 meter out. Ontario possession. Kevin O goes back inside again. Basically right up on top of the line. Held up. And a scrum back to Ontario. Well, good possession, Brian, but that Rock team is resolute in defense, and they'll take their chances in the scrum again, I suspect.
Yeah, I really think these conditions are really playing against Ontario right now. Ontario, they're really well known for their skill level and to move the ball around the field, and I just think this rain and these conditions have taken away from that. So it'll be interesting to see here off this scrum here again. With them having the territory in possession here the last 6 or 7 minutes or so, to see if they make a change there. But again, very, very difficult, as we saw in the previous play. The number 9 losing his footing. The gap was there, but unfortunately, that's the way it's going to go today, I believe.
That's a substitute for the Rock team. We have number 17, David Mallard, son of the late legendary Rock player and Swiler stalwart Christopher Mallard. And I believe Thomas Hagan. Yes, Thomas Hagan, the heavily wrapped left leg. Looks like he's done for the afternoon. Also from the Swallows Rugby Club here in St. John's.
Well, I'm pretty well convinced that Coach Jack Hanratty's been really pleased with the weather conditions here today. This is typical Irish weather, and this is the sort of thing that he loves his team to play in. So
we're not scared of it down here. There's a big opening there for the Ontario scrum half. Well tackled by Matthew Terry of the Rock. Again, just a meter or two out. And great defense there by the Rock's pack. They've been given their just desserts for that great section of and period of defense, and they are going to be given the scrum on the 5-meter line. That must have been 6 or 7 successive scrums for Ontario, and doesn't bode well for them if they can't get any points out of that sustained piece of possession down inside the Rock half, Brian.
Yeah, that's tough, but full credit to the Rock. Great defense. And again, it's just I feel that these conditions are really playing a factor right now with the Ontario team. Not exactly what they want to do here. Having a straight up run at the Rock. In around the fringes. Not really what their style of play is. But again, kudos to the Rock. Great defense, a lot of passion, and of course a crowd right into it again.
Absolutely, yeah. Probably our best crowd of the week. Irrespective of the weather. And it's great to see them out supporting the hometown Atlantic Rock team. Comprise mostly of players from Newfoundland, but also featuring some others from the Atlantic provinces. Sorry, Brian, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no worries. I was just going to say full credit to Roxanne Butler, who's done a tremendous amount of work here for organizing the tournament this week. And, the social media has been great. It's great to see the Newfoundland rugby Twitter feed going crazy all week long. And,
indeed.
And really getting the people out here to support this game here today.
Indeed, yes. Well said. And also another member of the organizing committee, Liam Warren, who's responsible for that great social media work. There's the Rock Piers Van de Zalen, number 8, taking the ball off the base of the scrum. Josh Blanks to find touch. Very nicely done by the scrum half. Out just to near the 22-meter line. Well followed up by Andrew Shears, the Rock, number 11. Ontario with the throw-in. Still in a reasonably good attacking position. We are across the 27-minute line. Approximately 3 minutes left, plus injury time. Rugby union somewhat unique in that the only live game clock, or I should say official game clock, is in the referee's pocket. You, the viewer, can see on the screen that we are approaching 28 minutes, but he, at his discretion, great piece of work there by Michael McCarthy. Very brave on the deck there. And numbers outside for the Rock. Shares, that's a high tackle. Yeah.
High tackle called by a couple hundred fans or so here today. So.
Didn't appear to be a cardable offense.
No.
Just a straight penalty.
Yeah.
Another, I guess, small nuance to the game of rugby. different to some of the other sports you'd see where colored cards are issued for certain infractions of play. A yellow card, when issued, produces typically a 10-minute sin bin, but actually it's prorated, Brian, for this tournament because we're only playing 30-minute halves. I think they're in for 7.5 or 8 minutes.
If I remember correctly, yeah, that's the way they're doing it. With it being a 60-minute game. So typically, when you see teams playing at the at national tournaments with the condensed games, whether you're playing 60, 40 minutes, they typically will reduce that yellow card bin.
And then the red card is straight expulsion from the game for much more serious offenses, or 2 yellow cards in succession within a game. It's a good line out there again by the Rock. They seem to be getting good yards off that. And here they go again. David Maller with a good bang up the middle there. Some rough stuff off. Careful there. Some rough stuff off the ball there by Connor McKinney and the number 5 lock for the Ontario team, Braden Gray. To be careful there, Mr. Gray. You wind up with a yellow card for yourself.
Well, we're not playing tiddlywinks out here. And
no.
It's good to see the passion in the players, and nothing serious out of that. So
I think he was penalized there, not for hauling down the maul. And Campbell Clark.
Yeah, the penalty call there was Ontario in from the side on the maul. So,
okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Clark with a conservative touch find. 6 meters outside the Ontario 22.
Well, I'm thinking that the groundskeeper right now is just cringing watching this.
Yeah.
They're going to have a lot of work to do after the week's over.
We spent the loot on the field for this tournament and in anticipation of trying to get to the final, so we'll be happy enough today.
What we'll do is we'll bring in some good prairie soil for you guys, and you guys can get her patched up.
Fair enough. Good line out again. Alex Hickman, been a real strong standout in the game today. Does not spill the ball in these tough conditions. Looks like Ontario may have pinched that one. They have. Kevin O from 9. He's kicked it upfield. Baldwin with safe hands. And off he goes. Just over halfway. Laurie Baldwin for the Rock. Josh Blanks at 9. Looking for a quick ball again. That's fair. Oh, no it wasn't. Offsides by the Ontario 6. Lachlan McLean.
Yeah, I've talked about McKinney a little bit earlier and how impressed I've been with him. Baldwin is another player that's been outstanding for the Rock this week, and one of those real danger men on the park. If he gets space, he's very good with his feet, but at the same time, when you go into the contact areas, has that ability to offload and spring some of his teammates into open space.
Absolutely. Seems to have good game management skills. He's on the ball, seems to make some great decisions.
Yeah, some really good rugby IQ there.
Campbell Clark with a good touch find. We've got a Rock line out. Down on the Ontario 22-meter line. Oh, unfortunate. Off Connor McKinney. Advantage being played to Ontario. Look to clear their lines here. Kevin O with a deep kick, but not in touch. Referee will allow that to play on. Baldwin finds a small seam up through halfway. That danger man Baldwin you just mentioned, Brian.
Yep, he sees the field really well. I saw an opening there and took it.
Campbell Clark wide to Hickman. Held up by the outside center, Liam Bowman of Ontario. Josh Blanks into Michael McCarthy. Good hands there. He's been steady all afternoon, both of them for that matter. To the lock, Mr. Saif. Hard yards, almost up to the halfway line. Blanks, back to the number 8 for the Rock. Well tackled by Ontario. Blanks with quick ball into
Numbers
Campbell
left.
Clark. There is. Oh, he's dropped that, but has not gone forward. So the referee will play on. Campbell Clark, a native of St. John's, who's featured at St. Andrews College for the last 4 years in Aurora, Ontario. He's a standout on the rugby field, playing representative rugby, not only for his school, club, and province, but also a very handy hockey player. He's playing in that St. Andrews hockey program for the last number of years. One of the best high school teams in all of North America. Pure athlete, that boy. His father, Dennis Clark, a St. John's native, has one cap for Canada against Australia back in the early 90s. So Campbell's trying to get there himself, I suspect. Ontario away with the scrum, and that's a poor pass. Put the fullback in all kinds of trouble. And we've got the referee calling, what do we got here, Brian? A knock-on by Ontario? Just a scrum to the rock?
Yeah, it looks like that's going to take us into halftime. So, again, it looked like Ontario had something on the move there with a little bit of space, but again, an unforced error, a poor pass in behind, and that brings us to the end of the half.
Yeah, so no injury time, as I had forecasted. We played straight 30 minutes. Score is 14-0 in favor of the Atlantic Rock. A slight surprise for me, like I said, but as you suggested, Brian, the Rock came out with a strong start. They've been clinical in the way that they've delivered the ball around the field. Some early mistakes with that wet, greasy ball, but ultimately they've outplayed Ontario in all facets of the game, and the Ontario coach, I'm sure, is going to give these boys a good stern talking to and try and get them back in this match.
Yeah, I think Mike Kern's going to just have the boys just get them to settle down a little bit here, and obviously with these conditions and the way the Rock are playing, I think it's playing right into their hands in terms of the style of play they want. Ontario's going to have to make some adjustments. I still believe there's plenty of time. A 14-0 lead is not a whole lot in the game of rugby, so you can have two quick scores and right back into this. So I'm expecting an exciting second half here.
Indeed. Well, thanks for your comments, Brian. We're going to get a chance now to bring in a local rugby legend, and we're going to have a quick chat with him, Mr. Rod Snow. Rod Snow, a native of Conception Bay South, Newfoundland, has featured for his country 62 times, first appeared for Canada in 1995 against the Argentina Pumas. He has a record of 8 test tries. And Rob went on to a very, very prominent and successful rugby career in Newport in Wales for 12 years, had appeared over 230 times, which is a record for a front row player for that very famous club. And also the first year that he appeared in the Rugby World Cup in South Africa, played a year for Eastern Province, has 4 Rugby World Cups under his belt. And I'm happy to welcome Rod here to the broadcast booth this afternoon. How are you doing, Rod?
Good. Thanks for the remarkable introduction.
Well, Google's a wonderful thing, Rod. I certainly knew about most of your accomplishments, but the 62 caps and the 230 appearances for Newport, well, that's something. They played a bit of rugby over in that part of Wales, eh?
Yeah, I had a fortunate run, I must say. Very lucky not to have any serious injuries and play with a great club who I was loyal to and was loyal to me, and the rest you say is history.
Rod, 34 years ago this month, you featured in the under-19 Nationals just down the road in the final against British Columbia. We played on that team and lost by a narrow margin. Do you remember that, Rod?
I remember it well. It's still a sore point, but that's the nature of sport and certainly the nature of rugby.
Well, looks like we're heading to be on the opposite side of that scoreline here. Lots of rugby left, that's for sure. Any general thoughts about the first half, Rod?
I mean, I like the game. I like the way the Atlantic Rock's playing. I think in these conditions, sometimes the tendency is not to want to play with the ball in hand, but what the Rock is doing is trying to play with the ball in hand. Nothing too fancy, nothing too elaborate or complicated. They're just maintaining possession, and they've been given fair reward for it. And I think this Ontario team will come back and have a lot more in the second half. So I'm really looking forward to the last 40 minutes being very tight.
That's great. Well, Rod, thanks for dropping up to see us.
Yep.
And we appreciate all that you do for Newfoundland Rugby. And as a personal friend, I'd like to thank you for that. And enjoy the second half.
Thank you. And the last thing I want to say is it's good that the 2 best teams in the country are playing right here in the final right now.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we are shy a couple of teams in this this tournament. Brian and I are going to speak to that in the second half, but thanks for pointing that out.
No
It looks
problem.
like we've got the 2 best under-19 teams contesting for the national final.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. Thanks to Rod, the Chief Snow, a good friend of mine, and as I said, local rugby legend, for joining us here in the booth.
Yeah, I still remember just out of 2 years out of high school, the 1995 World Cup. Young Rod Snow made such an impact with that Canadian team.
Big time.
And had a wonderful tournament.
Big time. I met Rod probably when I was about 16. He tried to decapitate me in a local rugby match. Luckily, he was unsuccessful, but there you go. We turned out to be great friends and teammates with the senior rock team over the years. Well, we're underway here in the second half. Ontario's kicked the ball off. Josh Blanks with a box kick, caught by his opposite number, just inside the 10-meter line in the Ontario half. Ontario with possession. Kevin O looking for his options. He's gone back inside to one of his props. Number 3, the tight head, Hayden Moore. Kevin O with his own box kick, a little bit far, fielded well by Baldwin, and that's a great response. He's kicked that very well. Ball spilled down, 5 meters out the Ontario line. Well retrieved by the Ontario player, but Baldwin well up there, covering his own kick. It's quite something, Brian.
Yeah, great cover on the kick, and now putting Ontario on the back foot here.
Kevin O's box kick to touch. It's been blocked, I believe, by Michael McCarthy. The Rock with possession, about 7 meters out, the far side of the field. Referee has called
Offside.
offsides on Ontario. Oh, it looks like we're going into a scrum.
Might be having a conversation. You know what? The offside might have been off the initial advantage. If there was some sort of knock, I couldn't quite see what was happening down in the corner in the breakdown there.
Some funky hand signals there by the referee, or could be my eyesight. Combination of the two. The rain is kind of let off, but you know what? The weather has been quite average here this afternoon, Brian, even by Newfoundland standards.
Yeah, we ran this morning, and it was 24 degrees and sunny, and
lovely.
the humidity was through the roof, and the boys got a good sweat on, and all of a sudden we've had a bit of a system rolling here, and it's been raining for the last hour and a half or so.
I was on the pond for a couple hours this morning, swimming and frolicking around with my nephews, and headed into the rugby park and started pouring rain.
You could have just went swimming here on the field.
I could have. And the Rock with a quick scrum. Alex Hickman over the line, and that danger man has scored the 3rd try for the Atlantic Rock. That's well deserved. You know what? They've featured him all week. He was carrying an injury. They rested him for the most part against that Ontario round robin game that the Rock had lost. As you can see, he's got a heavily bandaged right leg. Alex Hickman, who actually has just come back from a stint in New Zealand. He featured with the development program with the Canterbury Crusaders in New Zealand, one of the best, I would think, professional rugby outfits in the world. And Alex's game has picked up considerably, and he'd be very happy with that score. And like I said, well deserved. He's held possession all day here with a very, very greasy, wet ball.
Yeah, a real good score by the Rock, but I think you have to go back to the excellent box kick that led to that try.
No question, good point. And Baldwin with the extras. We've got 3 converted tries. That's 21 points. Again, a try is worth 5, a conversion worth 2. Baldwin successful 3 for 3 in the conversions. And we are now 4 minutes into the second half, and the rain is coming again, and it's going to be a real challenge for Ontario to dig themselves out of this one. Very well taken by the Ontario winger, number 11, E.J. Reary.
Great take, really
he's
good
done
take.
well when he's had the ball in hand. He almost scored a try there midway through the first half off that grubber kick. Ontario with possession now. Down inside the Rocks 22. They've spilled the ball. It's been picked up by number 13, Evan McKenzie. He's been quiet so far today, but that's a good piece of play by him. Rock maintaining possession, center field. Campbell Clark kicks the ball away directly in the hands of the Ontario fullback. He's got himself some space there, very nicely done. Well tackled by Hickman. Bauman. Ooh. He'd be disappointed with that. Very disappointed.
Yeah, it seems Ontario will have it on, and then it's just an unforced error. You know, just a pass in behind or too far forward, and it's just execution on the skill.
Well, Brian, it is officially raining cats and dogs here in St. John's.
Well, I think you and I have an advantage here. We're under the tarp. Everybody else is getting wet. I'm looking at Dave Wilson, our manager down here, and Richard Brindley, and they're no longer dry. That's for sure.
Brian, I'm very comfortable. I'm wearing one of my late mother's cashmere sweaters, and very very toasty and warm here this afternoon, no question. Thanks as well. We'd be remiss of giving Bell Media and Vibe TV a shout out for providing the telecast services here this afternoon. We also have got some sponsors, the Marco Group, Builders of Atlantic Canada, Gatherall's Puffin and Whale Watching Tours, consistent supporters of rugby here in Newfoundland, and Keith Bradbury of Remax, one of the bigger supporters also of Rugby Canada and Atlantic Canada. Thanks, Keith, for your continued support. Penalty to the Rock team. Ontario killing the ball in over the number 8. Bit of frustration creeping into the Ontario side's game here now. They're being manhandled up front by a slightly smaller pack who seem to be much more aggressive. Bit of a surprise, Brian?
No, not really. Newfoundland, I think, the Atlantic provinces are notorious for that type of play. It doesn't matter what size of a player you are. The Rock have always been notorious for playing really gritty rugby, and again, they don't look at the size disadvantage. They just bring it, and they'll take anybody on.
Fair enough. Good point. And the Newfoundland players, as I said, who've comprised most of this Atlantic Rock team, have traditionally been very, very strong in the pack. We maybe lack some technical expertise in the backs, but we got ourselves into several national finals based on the 8 guys up front banging away. It's a scrum, and that ball's out. Banks to Clark. Back inside to Hickman. Well tackled by the open side flanker for Ontario.
Big hole there. Big hole.
It is. Connor McKinney is taking partial advantage. He's got some good yards there. Well tackled by the Ontario defense.
Yeah, well played by Ontario. Over the ball, very, very quick. It looked like number 12 for Ontario.
It was indeed. That center, Andrew Essen. Had a chance to speak with Andrew's mom before the match. She's quite keen to be visiting St. John's and watching her son compete in the Canadian Rugby Championships here this week. Brian, your team, the Prairie Blizzard, also had a great week. I saw and commentated on one of your games. Your team is made up of players from which provinces?
Manitoba and Saskatchewan.
Right.
Yeah, well, we've been quite pleased with our progress here this week, and quite often you get into a tournament like this and you're playing this caliber, this level of rugby. It's a great experience for our players.
Bit of a misnomer there. Rock stole the ball on the line-out, but I think the referee deemed that the scrum half had played it twice. And Ontario with the penalty. Their fullback, number 15, Ben Russell. Ben, I heard his accent, must hail from England. And he's been, for me, one of the best rugby players here this week. I don't know anything about him. I meant to go up and introduce myself, and I certainly will after the game. He's had a bit of a rough time here this afternoon, but classy player, and he's performed well all week for Ontario. Ontario line out, 5 meters outside the Rocks 22. Taken cleanly by their number 8. Good drive on there by Ontario. Fairly taken down by the Rock team. Kevin O. Straight out to Bowman. Shifted wide again to Ben Russell. It's hard to take down. He's got quick feet. He's a tall, lanky guy. Ontario with possession. 4 meters inside the Rocks 22. Tackle well by the Rock. Again. Another good hard yards by the flanker, Cody Nala. Up just over the Rocks 22. Ontario still with possession. Referee checking the Rocks' backs to keep them onside.
Isolated.
Connor McKinney, well tackled there. That was the Ontario outside half, Cole Brown. So a pretty quiet game this afternoon. He's had a big week. There's that man Bowman with good possession again. Ontario ball spilled. No, excuse me. That is a penalty to the Ontario Blues. The Rock backs offside. I don't think they're going to go for points here, Brian. They're going to need a try. We are almost 41 minutes into this game. 3 quarters over. Down 3 converted tries. They're going to have to pull something off here. They're going to need a 7-pointer, Brian. There's no question.
100%. They're going to need to score a try here. With it being a 60-minute game, condensed game, they're running out of time. The part that's really mind-boggling to me is the fact that the forecast here today called for 0 rain, and it was supposed to be sunshine and 24 degrees, but we know how quickly the weather can change out here on the Rock.
Listen, I was in the middle of this last night over in Bannerman Park at the St. John's Annual Folk Festival, watching Joel Plaskett and his father Bill strum away on the guitars. At least I had some musical entertainment when I was standing in the rain. Folks here this afternoon don't seem to be making for cover inside. They're toughing it out. Few umbrellas, but a lot of people without. And here go the Ontario team again. Wide out right. We've got some good possession here. Back in field, they spill the ball forward. Back into possession of the Rock. Josh Blank's looking to clear his lines here. I think he's going to take that on himself. He's going to give it back to Campbell. They're going to try and punch it out a few yards. Connor McKinney. Oh, that's a weak pass and ill-advised. This position of the field. He's lucky there. Did he get away with that, Brian, or did they knock it on?
Well, I was actually thinking that the Rock might be penalized for straight off their feet there, but looks like there was must have been a knock in between as the referee signaled there.
Looks like McKinney's hurt his shoulder.
Yeah, as you were saying before, this rain hasn't affected the crowd. The numbers are still unchanged here. Everybody's a few umbrellas out here, but some people, I think, have just thrown up the white flag of surrender here and just said, you know what, I'm wet, and just keep sipping on the bevy.
Yeah, well, not me. My cashmere is not going to fare well in this this downpour, Brian. I don't know about you.
I'm happy to be under the tarp here, I'll tell you that, because I think I might have thrown up the flag and gone inside. So.
Well, the beer appears cold, and that would be of paramount importance to many here this afternoon. But the action on the field remains hot, and we've got approximately 43 and a half minutes gone through. No doubt we've got some injury time being ticked off here in the referee's clock. Connor McKinney seems to have picked up a shoulder injury. He's being treated by Kevin Parfrey, physio and physical therapist for the Rock team. Also, the Ontario number 8 as well being treated. Looks like he's got somewhat of a neck injury.
Well, it'll be interesting for us here tomorrow. We're to play Ontario, kick off at noon. And I don't foresee a lot of this water leaving the field anytime soon, so we could be in for a real sloppy one tomorrow as well.
I've got the cameraman panning over here to the side of the field here, and the water is literally teeming off the roof here at the Swallers Rugby Complex in St. John's, Newfoundland. And that looks like it's it for Alex Hickman, the inside center and try scorer for the Atlantic Rock. And also, sad to see the number 8 being helped off, Rink Vanderplunk. He's had a great week. I spoke to him, nice young man, and he's enjoyed his rugby here, and I'm sure he's sad to end it on an injury. But big shout out to Alex Hickman. Great afternoon. Solid 45 minutes of rugby put in by him, and just desserts with that try towards the end of the second half. All right, scrum down. Referee not liking the positions of the front row. They're going to reset that scrum, Brian.
Yeah, it's the conditions now are deplorable. I mean, you look at the field. I mean, there's not one spot where there isn't standing water. It's going to be really tough for these players to perform. So right now, I think both sides, more so to the Rock in terms of working the clock, are going to keep things in as tight as possible here.
And there away come the Rock once again. Number 25 just inserted in the lineup, Kaylin Chambers. Out over the Rock's 22-meter line. Josh Lanks with a box kick. Well taken by number 11. The winger for Ontario, E.J. Reary. He's had a good game this afternoon. Ontario with some possession here now. Taken in by their tight head prop. Hayden Moyer, who's also had a decent afternoon. Ontario trying to spin the ball wide left. Ben Russell with an errant pass. Spilled onto the deck by his winger. Back in field to the flanker, Cody Nahala. Some good counter-rucking there by Michael McCarthy, showing his grit and determination. But Ontario maintained possession, 10 meters inside the Rock's half. Russell with a little dink in over the top. Oh, unfortunate for him. That's a real mud puddle out there now, folks. Like you said, a lot of standing water. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Ben had the ball through there, and I think he had a chance to hack that one on.
Yeah, he went to hack it ahead, and unfortunately, it just didn't go anywhere with all the water there. Even now with these conditions, even kicking for touch would be a challenge. Oh.
Indeed. Ben Russo looking for the corner. It's a decent kick in these conditions. Over the 47-minute mark here now. The Atlantic Rock firmly in control of the game. Still 21-0, 3 converted tries to nothing. Ontario with a decent piece of possession here now, down inside the Rock's 22. Brian, Ontario, they're gonna need a score here pretty soon, or I don't see a way back out of it for them.
No, especially with the conditions here on the field. Any type of long counterattack. I don't think we're going to see it here. This possession here is crucial for Ontario.
The hooker for Ontario, Alex Cicerelli, to provide the service. He goes in short to the number 2 jumper.
Not straight.
Yeah, not straight.
Yeah, it's just, it's for Ontario, there's been times where it's been on and it seems to be an unforced error, and it just slows any little bit of momentum that they have. So the Rock, I think, are going to hold it in tight here and a few hit ups, and then maybe the box kicks on again.
Yep, indeed. Shown some good game management by Campbell Clark, the co-captain, with Michael McCarthy here this afternoon, and Josh Blanks. they haven't made a bad decision all afternoon, and it's part and parcel why I think we got 21 points on the board for the Atlantic Rock and nothing for Ontario. Great game management by two fine young rugby players.
Yeah, they've managed the game really well, and especially early on in the game. I think the opening 15 minutes of this game, they did an excellent job. Kind of, it's interesting to see here. You're talking about the rain pouring off the roof here. You guys don't believe in eaves troughs or in gutters and things like that, eh?
No, we had eaves trough there, but that was nicked by a local group of unsavory characters, I'm sure, one afternoon. Brian, and that's a penalty to the Rock. Ontario pushing before the ball went in, and that might seal their fate here this afternoon. We've hit the 50-minute mark, and Campbell Clark with a free pot to get the Rock out of trouble. Brian, we had 4 teams in this tournament: the Ontario Blues, the Atlantic Rock, the Prairie Blizzard, which you are the head coach of, and a team representing Quebec. We are without one of the leading rugby unions in the country and traditional favorites, British Columbia, which was most unfortunate, and also missing Royal Alberta, two very, very strong teams, which was unfortunate not to have them here. But I think we've got some of the best players and the best teams on offer here this afternoon, eh?
Completely agree. And you know, anytime if you even have 4 out of the 6 regions, it's still going to be a great tournament. It's been a great week. I know our boys have certainly benefited from the experience. You know, we've played some very, very good rugby here this week. I've been really impressed with our boys. You know, especially at the breakdown or physicality of the game. It's been a lot
Indeed.
of talk about our team here this week, and you know, I think our boys have had the chance to grow and develop a little bit more as rugby players.
I saw your team play several times. Like I said, I did the color commentary with your game against Quebec, and I know you're a team that just recently formed before coming out here, so you didn't have the advantage of a lot of camps and a lot of winter dry land training like some of the other teams would have. But I thought you played admirably and performed very well for the time that you had to get the team together.
Yeah, we had 3 weekend build-up camps before this. Unfortunately, we were without a few key players at that particular time, so we really didn't have the team completely unified until we got out here. But you know, the boys have just shown tremendous growth all week, and I felt we were really, really unlucky against Quebec. I felt we, you know, as a team, in terms of possession territory, I felt we were the better squad. But unfortunately, unforced errors again, which has been the story all week, where you know, we have the tremendous amount of pressure on a team, and then, you know, a drop ball or an errant pass or a kick straight into touch has kind of killed us. But I'm not taking anything away from our boys. Our boys have been fantastic this week. They've taken a lot of ownership with the program, and again, you know, the physicality and you know, where we were 12 months ago, you know, coming back to this tournament last year when it was played in Saskatoon. Our team is just tenfold improved, and you know, I think that says a lot to the time that the boys have put in over the past 12 months. And as I said last year, having a conversation with Geth and Watts, I'd said we will be improved, a much improved team next year's competition. I feel we've achieved that.
Well, indeed you have been, and congratulations to you and your guys for a great performance out here in St. John's this week. Back to the play here. Ontario up over halfway. E.J. Rary with a great run. We've got a new scrum half in for Kevin O. It's number 24, Sean Simon. Ontario looking to try and break through, keeping the ball alive. And we've got a call from the touch judge.
Geez, I don't know about that. I think Ontario might have been a little hard done by there. I thought, you know, that the pass came to the player, but it was deflected backwards into the hands of number 21.
Yeah.
And you know, I thought play on there. I thought Ontario was really hard done by there.
Marginal call by the referee. He looked to his touch judge there for clarification. It's another nuance of the game of rugby union, where the touch judges have the ability to help the head referees with certain calls, as in that instance. We've got the Rocks, Josh Blanks, scrum down, right on halfway here. See the Ontario front row a little bit frustrated here, getting a little bit aggressive in the hit up there.
Yeah, again, just really tough with the footing for the forwards here in the scrum. Again, you're not going to find one spot out there that's going to be ideal for these boys.
You see that Ontario front row, they must outweigh the Atlantic Rocks front row by 10, 15 pounds a man, but like you said, the well-spirited Atlantic Canadians and Newfoundland guys seem to present themselves very well in the face of bigger opposition. Campbell Clark shifted out, lots of room there for the Rock. Out to Baldwin, tries on here, there goes Shears, outside, well tackled by E.J. Reary. Up, 7 meters outside the Ontario half, nice piece of play there. And he's got the Rock for not releasing.
Yeah, just a tremendous cover tackle by the Ontario winger. You know, in times like that, you have to scramble. It looked like Ontario tried to pinch in. Looked like Liam Bowman aggressively came up looking for a turnover. Unfortunately, the Rock were able to execute it through the hands. But just a great cover tackle by the Ontario wing.
No question. Nice piece of open running there in very marginal conditions.
Yeah, we haven't seen a whole lot of that today, unfortunately, and you know, that's the way it goes when you have to deal with weather like this.
And that is the danger man, Connor McKinney, getting his just applause coming off the field.
Had a great game.
Indeed. Punched in a strong 56 minutes here this afternoon.
Ontario ringing some changes in here as well.
Number 23 on the field for Ontario. It's Alex Mulholland going into fullback for Ben Russell. Yeah, wholesale changes here by both teams. Job to keep up with the substitutions.
Well, besides us up here in the booth, they might be the only other dry people here on the park.
Indeed, indeed. And we remind our viewers, we are amateur broadcasters, Brian.
That is correct. I fully intend to talk to my good friend Dan Meikle from Alberta to get some tips on this announcing bit.
Right, yeah. Not giving up my day job anytime soon. Not even quite sure what that is. But here go Ontario again. In the spirit of the game, they're keeping running it and looking for an opportunity to try and get some points on the board. Simon spinning the ball wide and spilled again by the Ontario team, but not forward, so there's no infraction and no resulting scrum. Big tackle there by number 17. That's David Mallard, who's had an awesome game since he came on, about 15 minutes in the first half. Penalty against the Rock, not releasing the player. Ontario will want to advance this down the field as quickly as possible. They get to kick the ball now directly into touch and maintain the line out. And that is a good touch find there.
It's an excellent kick by Ontario. This line out here, they're going to have to score off this possession here. We're quickly running out of time, and if they want to find some way to climb back into this and manage to tie the game up, they're going to have to make this work.
Yeah, we've tripped over 58 minutes here, and no doubt there will be some injury time. The Atlantic Rock seem to be well in control. Ontario with the line out. One last chance here.
It's got to go quick.
Unorthodox play there. On the full, off the right foot, knocked forward. I think the ball has fallen into the Rock's hands, and Josh Blanks going to look for a box kick here. He has, straight into hands of that danger man, E.J. Reary. Here come Ontario. Bowman with a chance. He's got some space there. Beautiful weighted pass out to number 21. That's Hayden Parks for Ontario. Just over the Rocks, 22-meter line. Back in field to the tight head prop, Hayden Moyer. Back to Bowman. Some space there for Ontario. Well tackled by the Rock. Nice passage of play by Ontario here, Brian.
Yeah,
finish up the game.
Definitely their best of the game thus far. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be too little too late, but I'd like to see Ontario put one on here and just a little bit of just reward for their efforts here.
Rary again. He's had a good game. He's in difficult conditions. He's hung on to most of the balls he's been given. He's attacked well when he's had the chance.
Nice little pass off the deck, the one-handed pass by the halfback from Ontario. Some enterprising play there. It's on here.
Yeah, Ontario's got some men out here. You just need to get the ball through the hands. Bit slow there.
There we go.
And the try's on. Indeed.
There it is.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's the thing with these types of conditions. If you're short of the line and you know that you're probably going to be tackled, you know, hit the deck and you'll slide it an extra 6 meters into the end zone. So, but you know what? That's a really, really good build-up for Ontario on that score. I think it's a just reward
for sure
for that amount of play in that they put together. But that's Ontario, right? I mean, they have the skill sets, they have the athletes to be able to play some really, really good rugby, even in conditions like these.
Yeah, it's a good try there. I believe it was from number 5. Yeah, number 5, Braden Gray. Try scorer for Ontario. So a decent game this afternoon. And I agree, it was probably one of Ontario's better pieces of possession and passages of play, and they were well rewarded. Number 12 with the afters. Short there. So we've reached full time. As I suggested before, I think we are in injury time. And that clock remains firmly in the referee's pocket.
Yeah, I think the Rock here will look to put this ball into play and then look for the first chance to find touch and bring it into the squad. And this crowd's going to go ballistic.
Yeah, the fans here are starting to feel it. They've got a national championship between their teeth, and they're not going to let it go, folks. 21-5. Campbell Clark's going to pump this downfield, I suspect, as far as he can. Good line drive. Not knocked forward. Good response by number 21, Hayden Parks. Here come Ontario again. Tight head prop, punching it up. Hayden Moore. Ball spilled forward and picked up by number 21. It's a reserve, Alex Clark for the Rock. And here comes 23, number Riley Cunningham for the Rock. They're going to slow this ball down here. That's not gone forward. Referee has deemed that it has gone forward.
I'm not convinced that ball did go forward. It just stopped dead right on the spot, straight down.
He missed that one. I didn't want to be too zealous in my comments, but no, I think he maybe missed that one. But nevertheless, we're deep into injury time here now.
I just saw the referee signal to the AR that it looks like this could be the last
play
here. Yeah.
Last play of the afternoon. A game can end on an infraction like that. Therefore, the ball must be restarted with the scrum. Penalty to Ontario against the Rock for pushing ahead of the mark. And here they go. One last kick at the can for Ontario. The Rock just want to kill this ball as quickly as they can and punt it off the park. And that's back in the hands of the Rock. And he's going to try and kick this. He just needs to kick this out of the field. Don't know why he's trying that.
Yeah, the 9 has to take control here, and again, I think make it known that the time is up. So we're just into the game management part of it now.
Yeah, perhaps they don't know what we know.
I find that hard to believe, but you might be right.
Yeah, we're into the dwindling moments of this game here now. Rock maintaining possession. Into Mike McCarthy. He's been one of the best players on the park this afternoon.
Close enough to the touchline here. Should be able to punch it out. But looks like they might want to have another score here.
Campbell Clark's looking for the ball. He's not getting it.
Could be a turnover here.
Yep. Needless to say, the game is over. Ontario cannot match the 21 points now. But makes for a good highlight reel, splashing around in the water and the mud here still.
Well, and I believe the crowd's actually yelling for him to get into the touch as well. They want to celebrate here, so.
They want another try. So do I, for that matter. There, I said it. And that's it, folks. That's it. Penalty against Ontario for lying all over the ball again. And Blanks punts it in. And it's official. The game's over. The Atlantic Rock have won the CRC Under-19 Championships here in St. John's, Newfoundland at the Swilers Rugby Complex. A momentous afternoon, a tremendous achievement for all those involved. Coaches Peter Densmore, Brendan Parfrey, Dr. Patrick Parfrey, part of the management, Jack Hanratty, all with a great hand in formulating this team and bringing them to these extraordinary heights here this afternoon. The Ontario boys look dejected. Listen, they did what they could. They ran up against a very, very tough outfit. I had some doubts. I saw Ontario play all week. They look big. They look strong. On a dry field, they looked dangerous at every opportunity with ball in hand. But I don't know. The weather may have played something into it, but I think there was some fire in the belly of the boys from down east this afternoon, led by Newfoundlanders Michael McCarthy, Alex Hickman, and boy, look, it says it all. Look at the looks on these guys' faces. Brian, quite an accomplishment and something to remember forever and a day for these young men, eh?
Oh, 100%, and and I think with the weather, I don't think you could have scripted any better for these Atlantic Rock players. This is a game they'll never forget, playing in these types of conditions. Championship game, national champions. And, before the tournament had started, Pat Parfrey had said that they felt they had a team to win it. And let's be honest, it's great for rugby. We know Ontario and BC are typical perennial powers in our country. And it's great to see, a region like Atlantic Canada get rewarded.
Fantastic. And look, part of the sport of rugby, look at the sportsmanship being shown by these Ontario guys.
Yeah, fantastic.
In the face of defeat, clapping their opposition off, and then the Atlantic Rock boys will counter with the same and clap Ontario off as well.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect anything less from Mike Kern. Mike runs, a professional outfit, and the expectation from his players is to be gracious in victory, but also be gracious in defeat. But you know what? There's been plenty of rugby camaraderie here, even after our tough bronze medal loss to Quebec. Both teams assembled under the posts, and we had a group photo taken together. And having a chat with Francois Radier, he said it perfectly that we have to remember that this is rugby at the end of the day, and we can't lose that component of the rugby culture.
Well, it's a unique part about the sport. It's something that attracted me to it at the tender age of 16 when I first donned the boots here at the Swilers Rugby Club. and played my first game down in Kitty Vidi, and well, it's it's a unique part about the sport, and the boys are loving getting into the water there. Listen, full marks to the Ontario boys. They gave it their all here this afternoon, but a hearty congratulations again to all the Newfoundland players, coaches, staff, the volunteer group. I think we had 39 volunteers participate this week, friends, family of the players, led by Roxanne Butler and Liam Warren of the organizing committee. And we have the presentation of medals here by Mr. Christopher Hickman, who's the chairman of the Swilers Rugby Club, presenting the silver medals to the Ontario Blues players. And I suspect there's a box of gold medals soon to be adorned by the Atlantic Rock players as well. Any closing thoughts here, Brian, this afternoon for you and your reflections, not only on the game, but the week here spent in the most beautiful province in the country?
Yeah, you know, I first off, I just want to thank the on behalf of the Prairies. I want to thank the host committee. As you said, did a tremendous job here all week. Two great teams played it out here today. Ontario can keep their heads held high. They were tremendous all week, and you know, it would have been interesting to see the game with drier conditions. I'm almost certain that things would have went a little differently in terms of the general play. But it is what it is, and a huge congrats to the Atlantic Rock well-deserved champions. And again, I just want to throw one last little thing out here, and that's for all the other coaches and managers from all these teams. These guys, they're not paid to do this. They're volunteers. They spend tremendous amount of hours reviewing film, time away from families. And I know certainly from our staff with our Prairies team that we have some very, very dedicated volunteers, and without them, these boys wouldn't be taking the field.
Well said, Brian. Rugby is predominantly remains an amateur sport here in Canada. All the coaches, like you say, and the staff, how these rugby teams get to these competitions, it's not as simple as pressing a button and people showing up. So nicely stated there. And we were missed there in mentioning the Atlantic Rock players, certainly, as I said, predominantly made up of Newfoundland players, quickly sung the Ode to Newfoundland. That is the provincial anthem for the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. And here come their gold medals. And, well, that's about it for us here at the Swilers Rugby Complex here in St. John's, Newfoundland. We have a final score of 21-5, the Atlantic Rock over Ontario. And just a great afternoon for rugby besides the weather. And just maybe a parting note for anyone out there in British Columbia who wants to send a team down here to play our Atlantic Rock. I think Mr. Hickman is providing airfare. I don't think this is over yet, Brian. I think there's still one game to be played here this summer.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, for us, we're looking. We got one more game tomorrow against this Ontario side here.
Excuse me,
and,
you do.
Yeah,
you do.
And if I remember correctly, I think you guys are going to stream it, which is greatly appreciated by you guys.
We are.
And
we are.
And I hope you, my friend, will be here to call that game. And you've done a wonderful job here today. And
I don't know about that. I got big plans tonight, and that may not see me getting on the right side of the tracks before noon tomorrow. But you know what? I'm going to come up and watch, and I'm going to cheer you guys on. Brian, you're a great guy. Your team has shown great spirit this week, as have all the guys here. And I must say, it's been a great tournament, played in the greatest spirit of the game. And thank you for your time and consideration this afternoon, Brian.
You bet. Appreciate that.
Safe trip home.
Thanks for having me. Again,
a final shout out to our sponsors, the Marco Group, Builders of Atlantic Canada, Mr. Keith Bradbury, Remax, Gather All Puffins and Whale Tours, and to Bell Media and Vibe TV for providing the telecast services. And that's it here for us, folks. safe home this afternoon. And once again, congratulations to the Atlantic Rock, the CRC 2019 Under-19 Rugby Champions. Good afternoon.
I think what Roxanne will do, they're on a list. They'll just start sending